What's up, guys and gals of the movement world? It's Sean Mishka, the Movement Miyagi, coming to you once again on behalf of Football Beyond the Stats in another movement skill short story this week for week 8 of the 2025 NFL season. In this past weekend, on week 8, was National Tight Ends Day, or National Tight Ends Week, according to the NFL, per probably Travis Kelce, George Kittle, and the like. So it's only appropriate that we feature who I feel is currently the most skillful and dexterous tight end right now in the National Football League. Now, that is including the Kittles and the Kelseys and the Bowers. I'm talking about Tucker Kraft, tight end for the Green Bay Packers. And on Sunday Night Football against the Pittsburgh Steelers, when the matchup was supposed to be about Jordan Love versus Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers returning to play against his former team, it was Tucker Kraft, from my perspective, that stole the show. So we're going to get into two respective plays from him. And again, in these movement skill short stories, what we're looking to do, what we're looking to investigate, is not only that behavior that we saw unfold between those unfolding problem and solution dynamics and the way that they came to be, but how it is that which what we saw could inform our own practice activity design. And there's going to be two of them that we're going to look at. So even though this is Jordan Love's highlight film here on his big performance, again, it was Tucker Kraft in his big performance that I think stands out. Tucker Kraft, number 85 here, tight end, moving in motion, pre-snap on this respective play early in the game to get the Packers scoring, rolling. And again, we're going to watch it again one more time, 100% speed here as Kraft gets the ball. It's not going to look like a lot on film at first, but what it is going to do is it's going to set the tone for what it is that we can do as coaches and support staff practitioners to kind of lean in on some movement skills for players at both the tight end position as well as the wide receiver position. If you have the book, and I'm going to get the ball in Tucker Kraft's hands here. If you have our book, Enhancing Skill in American Football, I know I continue to give you the cheap plug there. We just released it in September, but you're going to find on page 166 and on 167 some problem activity design, some slices of the game that we use in our respective learning environment that looks, feels, acts, and unfolds very similar to that what we're finding here. Curvilinear agility, and then a complex problem with a chaser at the boundary. Two of these respective problems that we set up, that we tell you and walk you through, and I'm going to do that here in this way. We will enter the ball any number of ways. Ball carrier could already have the ball in their hands there. They could catch the ball as Tucker Kraft does. They could enter the space, this workspace, moving and then getting the ball as we see from Tucker Kraft, right? Any number of ways. And it's really only open to your own discretion. A lot of times we are doing a 20-yard. So if we look at this, a 20-yard workspace, we will do anything from about a 20-yard long workspace down to about 10. So we will do this in any number of ways. Anywhere from 10 to 20 is kind of optimal here. And again, we're usually looking from hashes to sideline. That's about the type of optimal workspace. Again, with either one of these activities that I'm pointing to, page 166 and 167, if you have the book, Curvilinear Agility or a Complex Problem with a Chaser. That's exactly what unfolds here, guys and gals. And then what we find is usually we will have two teammates entering the space and two defenders coming head up to block him. This guy usually won't be that tight, right? So we usually will have that person entering like this. So I wouldn't even have this guy here, number 24, but I would have these two defenders, potentially a third entering the space if it were this guy maybe. Or if we were doing it with a chaser, which changes the problem solution dynamic significantly, that chaser going to enter here after he tries to defend the pass against the quarterback. The quarterback is sort of passive in this way. All he's really doing is delivering the ball around this defender, if that's a chaser, into this guy here as I'm circling with my mouse, which would be Kraft in this situation. Again, we'll do this for tight ends a lot. We will do this for wide receivers a lot. We will even do this for running backs, which you can probably see the utility of that. So now once we, let me get my arrow back here. This guy will catch the ball and have the opportunity to follow his blockers, but in an ownership type of fashion, which is what we rep a lot in this type of particular slice. I want him to navigate that space of a constantly changing problem because we are going to change where this defender is, where this defender is, where this defender is, in any of the teammates are starting from. We want it to look, feel, act, and unfold differently every single time. So when the ball carrier catches the ball, they have to perceive a landscape of opportunities to act, aka a landscape of affordances that are different each and every time. Remember, we never step in the same river twice, for we're not the same man. The river's not the same either. We want that river to change. So they being every single party, but particularly Tucker Kraft in this situation, has to perceive and act upon different affordances. He's going to perceive this respective dyadic relationship probably immediately. He's also needs to take in the immediate threats that could perturb how it is that he's aiming to move. And then only then is he looking to and through, potentially, if he is a more skillful mover, to that which what lies beyond, right? He is trying to use all of these respective relationships to guide and channel his movement actions, and we want to give that player a bunch of goes at it. Notice how he's perceiving, even though his head is kind of, because of the whiteout look of the Packers here on Sunday night, you can tell he's looking to this relationship to read, my guess, perceive upon the information from his blocker relating to this defender and where that defender is going and where that defender could go to channel where it is that Kraft goes. If he can perceive this guy out of his left side periphery here, that I'm not aware of, based on his behavior, it actually doesn't look as though he's awfully connected to that. He just sort of deals with that what is when it comes to be. So he does get a little attuned and sensitive, maybe a little overly fixated on this relationship. And we have to be attuned and sensitive to threats that are coming behind, right? But we want to give them goes at this. No two problems the same, neither any two movement solutions. The reason why I say that I don't know if he was all that connected to 25 is obviously 25 gets his hands on him. And this is going to be a theme between this play and the next one I show, where tight end in particular, also running backs, also wide receivers, but sort of in that that list. Tight ends first and foremost, running backs next, wide receivers next. This is something that we really focus in on. This tackling type of engagement where a guy is already latched onto the ball carrier when they have the ball. We start activities in this way and let them solve that problem through haptic and touch information, trying to shed that guy off in any number of ways that they can while protecting the ball and simultaneously while taking in information about what lies ahead there, as you saw me circle that. We can rep this out, guys and gals, and we should. And if we do, we see behavior similar to that which what we see from Tucker Kraft here, okay? Let's not miss the forest through the trees. This is the finger pointing the way to the moon, and this is the moon relating to the finger. How can a guy behave under perturbations, under threat, under challenge of the physical sort? Tucker Kraft doing it as well as anyone, and it's what's relating to his ability to accumulate yards after the catch at the clip that he is. I think he's number one in the entire NFL, not only just for tight ends, but for tight ends and receivers. This play, we're going to skip ahead. This is not Tucker Kraft. That's Christian Watson coming back from his ACL. This, however, is Tucker Kraft. And we're going to use that same idea that we just spoke about to inform you as to what you might be able to do. First and foremost, we see Jordan Love with some skillful movement behavior out of his own with a lot of pressure in his face. Guys, gals, if you're coaching quarterbacks, give them this in practice. Not necessarily taking this shot head on, but being able to throw more under pressure, under chaos. Giving them the red jersey and not letting guys get close to them. Like it's one thing to give them the red jersey if you're in the NFL. But if you're in high school, in college, they need to be facing that pressure. They need to be standing in the fire. They need to be delivering passes if it's 3rd and 5 and your team is down at this point by 9. But let's pick up right here where we can see at the bottom of the screen, and this is where I want you to focus on, okay? Tucker Kraft down here looking to catch the ball, obviously in some of this hand fighting and body blocking between him and, again, number 25, right? This type of contested catch is something that we rep a lot of. If you're going to do just catching of the ball, always, and I do mean always, change up the way that the player is receiving the ball and the conditions and situation they are receiving it under. We talk a little bit about it in the book, somewhere there in the special slices and situations section. Attunement to the boundary doesn't really affect here, but attunement to the haptic and touch information from a defender while you were tracking the ball and while you were attuned to potentially other threats and where they are. Now, the threat isn't as extreme here, right? Oops, I meant to do this, right? Isn't as extreme there. It isn't as extreme here, even though Kraft might have got away with a little bit of push off, and that's why 25 is already contesting that in his verbal way. He should keep playing through that, of course. And then once you do catch the ball, being able to quickly perceive what's there for you to interact with. Obviously, in this case, Tucker Kraft perceives, I got to get north and south. I got to get vertical because I got some guys coming. It's now a 1v2 that me versus 2 defensive backs. If I'm a tight end, they are going to be on me like a lion on prey really quickly. But that doesn't mean that I don't have the ability to interact with that. Again, I talked about earlier in the first play, starting movement problems and problem solving interactions with somebody already latched onto you. We have to have some sort of like rules for sparring engagement, if you will. I don't want this to be overly physical, but what I want it to be is engaging enough to where it's resistive, to where it truly is an alive movement problem. Don't just let your players always run free and try to accelerate. How about get free and try to accelerate, right? Hopefully that makes some sense there, right? So you can sort of see what I'm looking at. And then once he does try to get free, just even a guy having his hand, twisting him around, and then having to perceive, continue to problem solve, continue to spar. Now, I'm not necessarily suggesting that we always need to go to the ground like this in training and in practice, but we do want to prepare the player for it more frequently. And these 2 respective slices that we saw from Tucker Kraft, maybe the most skillful player solving problems at the tight end position in today's NFL right now at this moment, week 8 of the 2025 NFL season, begins to illustrate what we might need to do more of with all of our pass catchers, all of our offensive skill players. So for another movement skill short story here for week 8 At Football Beyond the Stats, I'm Sean Mishka, the Movement Miyagi. I'll talk to you all next time.